Let's Talk is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to Let's Talk episode 61, brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network. Howdy all, Father Corey Stika. Welcome to Let's Talk, our SQPN community podcast. Sorry we didn't have an episode last week. I was having some internet issues that fortunately the phone company was able to rectify, but it was a little too late for us to do a recording. So no episode last week. It's kind of hard to record a internet-based podcast when you don't have internet. Anyways, it was fixed, and I'm very happy with my telco for getting it fixed. We got a couple of returning panelists this week. First of all, Joanne Mercier is with us again. How's it going, Joanne?
It's going pretty well, Father. Hi, everybody.
And then Pat Scott's also with us. How's it going, Pat?
Here from warm Texas.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it is. It's been kind of nice here, actually. Rainy, though. I'm trying to get out and mow the lawn. And won't dry out enough to actually go and do it.
Oh,
but dear. Tough problems to have in life, you know.
And we're actually starting to feel fallish, but the heat and humidity should return for the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had one of those spells not that long ago where it was just a little bit, it was actually kind of a nice, cool day. It felt really good, you know?
Yeah, it's nice to turn off the air conditioner.
Yeah, exactly. So this week we're going to talk about a rather diabolical issue, I think is a good phrase for it. Sorry, got to start with the puns.
Rim shot.
Yeah. This last week, the Jesuit Superior General, Father Arturo Sosa, came out with a statement that, I'm sorry, was a clunker. This was not a good thing. And it's something that we want to talk about because it is an issue that is something that's real in our lives. It's something we need to be aware of, and it's something we need to be careful about. And of course, that issue is the devil. It is Satan, Satan and the fallen angels. First of all, we'll start with the actual statement that this priest said, Father Arturo Sosa said, and he is the superior general of the Jesuits. So you think that, with the education and everything that they receive, he would know better than this.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, the devil exists as the personification of evil in different structures, but not in persons, because is not a person is a way of acting evil. He is not a person like a human person. It is a way of evil to be present in human life. Good and evil are in a permanent war in the human conscience, and we have ways to point them out. We recognize God as good, fully good. Symbols are a part of reality, and the devil exists as a symbolic reality, not as a personal reality. There's some problems with that, aren't there?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, the problem is that's not what the church teaches about the devil, because the devil is not a symbol. The devil is not a symbol of human sin or of acting evil or being present, and sin being evil being present in human life. He is a being.
Mm-hmm.
He is a person. He's an angelic being, an angelic person, but he is still a being. The devil exists.
Oh, yeah, and he's alive and well, I'm telling you. I mean, just
yes.
Look around. But see, that's one of the most, that's his way. I hate to say it, but it's the devil convincing you he doesn't exist is exactly what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's the line. I'm blanking on the movie now, but that's the line about the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince you that he doesn't exist.
Exactly. And he does exist. I mean, there are 23 instances in the Bible that calls him out either by name, Satan, or refers to him as the devil. So, number one, I'll preface the whole thing, at least for myself, by saying that I am Jesuit educated. I have got my master's degree from Western Jesuit School of Theology. I love my Jesuit brethren. They are top-notch men who get lots of good education. In fact, they're highly intelligent. And I think sometimes, in my experience, they overthink things. And I just have a feeling this is one of those instances where we're overthinking. We can be a little bit more simple, because I'm ready to just acknowledge what the Bible says. Satan exists. Yeah. It's a person and has injected himself throughout history. I'm buying it. So
well, and so does the church, because you look at the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 391. Behind the disobedient choice of our first parents lurks a seductive voice opposed to God, which made them fall into death out of envy. Scripture and the church's traditions see in this being a fallen angel called Satan, or the devil. The church teaches that Satan was at first a good angel made by God, but then they eventually fell. Mm-hmm. You know, that the devil and the other demons were indeed created naturally good by God, but they became evil by their own doing.
Right.
So it is a matter of doctrine that the devil exists. It is something that we are to believe and submit to. That, yes, he exists, and he wants to see us fall, just as he wanted to see Adam and Eve fall. You know, this is something we can't kind of hand wave it away. And in my opinion, positions like Father Sosa's is very dangerous. They are extremely dangerous, because then they can mislead people into things that will put them directly in contact with the fallen angels, with the demons. And it will cause lots and lots and lots of problems for them, to say the least.
I also like the part of the Catechism that mentioned that the deliver us from evil in the Our Father does not refer to evil as an abstraction, but refers to a person, Satan, the evil one, the angel who opposes God. The devil is the one who throws himself across God's plan and his work of salvation accomplished in Christ. Paragraph 2851. Mm-hmm. And goes on to say that even those who might deny the personal creative nature of Satan unwittingly acknowledge it whenever they recite the Our Father.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. I love the fact that the what is it? I read in the article, the International Association of Exorcists called him out on it.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
oh, absolutely.
These are men who know the devil personally. You know,
fight with him on a regular basis.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm glad they spoke up immediately. But it's gonna be up to the Pope to kind of correct this. And I know this is tough for him because this is his superior general, even though he's Pope.
And a friend.
Yeah, and a friend because he's from Venezuela.
Right.
But even Pope Francis over and over again has reiterated the devil as a real being. And
yes, he has.
He has, he's not going to step away from this, I don't think.
Well, part of the problem, too, though, is this Father Sosa has made statements like this before. 2017, he said that we have formed symbolic figures such as the devil to express evil. And I remember when he said that, I remember kind of the same reaction. Again, it's like, what are you saying and why are you saying it? You know, just be quiet. I think it's a good time just to shut up, you know?
Right. And I think what will happen is they'll have a big, long discussion about this because Jesuits will do that. They will then look at everything intellectually from all four corners to make sure that they come up. But it'll eventually be the Pope because, and I agree with the Pope, you know, the devil is real. And we don't have to go. I mean, yes, the church says this in doctrine, but it gets it from the Bible. I'll go straight back to the Bible. It's if you know anything about the way the Bible is written, names of people and beings are important. So you name something, you know, like sometimes in the Bible it'll say women were present. Other times it'll name the women. Well, it does the same thing with the devil. The devil is sometimes referred to as the devil. Sometimes he takes on the name Satan. And depending on the situation, he's called out by name. So that tells me that's a being. not
Right.
human, maybe, but it's a being created that fell. And we have that in Genesis. So,
yeah. Well, and of course, you go to Revelation and you see the image of the angels falling. And now, admittedly, Revelation has a lot of layers, and it's a deeply symbolic book. But that's showing the symbol of these angels. They did not want to serve. Non servire, I will not serve. And they got cast out of heaven for that.
Right.
It was their pride that led them to become the demons, the fallen angels. And as the St. Michael prayer says, they're prowling about the world seeking the ruin of souls. They truly are, and we need to be careful about that. And that's why the statement by this Father Sosa is so troubling. But it's stuff we've heard this before. That's the sad part is this is not the first time people have said stuff like this.
I really liked one of the statements that I read about Fulton Sheen, Archbishop Fulton Sheen, in his Life of Christ. He said, very few people believe in the devil these days, which suits the devil very well. He is always helping to circulate the news of his own death. The essence of God is existence, and he defines himself as I am who am. The essence of the devil is a lie, and he defines himself as I am who am not.
Oh, wow.
And Satan has very little trouble with those who do not believe in him. They are already on his side, end quote.
Ooh.
Wow.
I like that.
Yeah, I have a fondness for Bishop Sheen because when I was a child, I wrote a letter to him and he wrote back.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it was his secretary, but, and I just was and have loved him for years.
I hope you held on to that letter because it could be a relic someday.
No, unfortunately, I'm sure that it went somewhere, in all of the stuff. I'm tempted to go back through all the stuff my mom gave me out of my high school stuff, but I don't think it's there.
Oh, that's too bad. It would be nice if it is, though, because, it very shortly could be considered a relic. So that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something worth having and cherishing, that's for sure. But
now it's in a world today where nobody wants to believe in evil per se, that everybody's good, that everybody is worthy of, that the big thing is that everybody's going to get to heaven. That as long as you're good, without any of the other, not restrictions, but things
qualifications, shall we say?
Qualifications, or where we've been called forth to be better than our human selves by Jesus, to follow him through the narrow gate, harking back to this week's gospel. It would, this kind of thinking really can take people off the track. Because I think the biggest impact I tried to make when I was teaching was on September 11th. We were not in school that day because we had a fire in the school. We had 2 days off. But the next day I walked into my classroom and I had the front page of the Providence Journal and I held it up, and it was that picture of the big fireball coming out of the Twin Towers. And I looked at my teenagers and said, if you don't believe the devil is real, take a look at his picture.
Yeah.
I said, that's the devil. Because these were kids who would tell me, oh, the devil's not real. And we're going back to 2001. So imagine from then till now, a whole nother generation of people trying not to believe that. It's like, no, take a look at that. This is the devil.
Right.
This is the devil. This is real, folks. This is not, a video game or a movie. This is real.
Exactly. It's interesting. Just the other day, actually, I listened to a podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of Taylor Marshall. When he's good, he's good. He's a good interviewer. He talks about good things, but he can get very off the wall at times. But he had a recent podcast episode with Jesse Romero, the apologist, who I really enjoy. I mean, he's just a fireball. You listen to him; he's on fire with the Holy Spirit. He's just going. And Jesse Romero recently wrote a book, "The Devil and the City of Angels: My Encounter with the Diabolical."
Wow.
Jesse Romero was a law enforcement officer with the Los Angeles County Police, I believe. And he dealt with people who were possessed as a law enforcement officer. And he was telling a story of where he was in like the big prison in Los Angeles. And his job was he was Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, but he was in the big jail. I mean, they've got a huge, massive jail, like 12,000 inmates at any one time. And he was on this one floor where it was like the worst of the worst. That, these were the people who were on death row. These are the people who were, just the mass murderers or whatever. And he talked to some of them, and a bunch of them, like he said, like 60% of them had all at some point in their process, whether talking to a counselor or whatever, had admitted that they heard voices telling them to do what they did. And as he talked to them more, he found out that some of them had been basically ritually consecrated to the devil by devil worshippers, had been involved with devil worship themselves, had been involved in drugs that opened themselves up to his influence, and so on. That the diabolical was real in their lives because the devil was influencing them. They were truly possessed in the true sense of the term, possessed by the evil spirits. He tells one point where, according to the Bible, that you cannot say Jesus is Lord except by the grace of God. And so he did an experiment. He said he talked to a couple of these prisoners who had said that they'd heard voice or whatever, who admitted that they had been involved with the diabolic. Said, I'll tell you what, I'll go get you some food from the officers' mess. It's a little better food down there than it is for the prisoners. All you have to say is Jesus is Lord. They couldn't do it. They would start choking. They would start gasping for air, like they were being strangled. They could not say Jesus is Lord.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I can tell you right now, Jesse Romero believes that the devil is real and the devil is walking around our world.
100%. Again, when looking in the Bible, and I'll always go back to that because that's, 2 Thessalonians 2, the beginning of that, it talks about, the coming of Christ and our being gathered. And it says not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by the teaching alleged from us, whether by prophecy or by word or mouth or letter, asserting the day of the Lord. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. This is what the devil does. And that's a perfect example of if those prisoners could not say even the name of Jesus, then that's how constricted they are by the diabolical. It's
scary. I mean, and I'll put a link to that episode, which you can listen to after you finish with this one. But there's so much we have forgotten about the work of the devil in our world. And that's why one thing that I'm kind of heartened by is more and more parishes, more and more dioceses are encouraging the use of the St. Michael prayer. In fact, my diocese, as part of trying to heal from our lawsuits, the abuse lawsuits and all that, my bishop has been encouraging us, which I did as soon as he encouraged it, to add the St. Michael prayer at the end of Mass, kind of how it used to be years ago, where we'd say it right after Mass. And we've been doing that. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. Calling for protection, because the devil is out there. And more parishes are saying it. More and more people are saying it. More and more dioceses are saying it. And that's a good thing.
It is.
I think if people learn, are given that prayer and learn it and take it home with them, I think that's a really good thing. That's really good. I had an exorcist friend once. I think he was an exorcist. He would never admit it. But he once said to me, though, that if you're going to take on the devil, you better be prepared. because the devil will throw everything he's got back at you.
Oh, yeah. And the closer you get to him, the stronger he's going to get.
Mm-hmm. So taking...
I mean, there's a limit.
Go ahead.
One of the things you mentioned, Father, is in the interview with the prisoners that they talked about hearing voices in their head. And one of the things that's bothered me a lot over the last few years, I believe in psychology. I believe in mental health and mental illness.
Absolutely.
But it's gotten to the point where nobody will say this was an evil act. It was all, they always bring it back to, well, it was a abandoned child or, all these other things. And that may be contributing factors, but it's like people have lost the sense of evil even, much less calling it by name. It's like, oh, it's just a health problem. It's just a training issue. It's just an environmental issue. And
it's video games. Factors, video games made them do it,
Ooh.
And, of course, I'm sure, Joanne, in talking with your friend who may or may not have been an exorcist, they talk about their process they go through. And when someone comes to says, I think I've got a problem with the devil, that the fallen angel maybe is, if not actually possessing, at least I can't remember what they call it, but basically where the fallen angel is trying to influence. There's an influence of the satanic there. The first thing they do is they call a psychologist. They go and they bring the doctors in and they bring in the sciences and they bring in, every other possible explanation. And then they start the process of actual exorcism. It's a time before the actual process of exorcism begins. It's not immediate.
Yeah, because I think they want to make sure that it's not something like a schizophrenia or a bipolar. Right. And I think that stuff has to be ruled out. What I think is lacking sometimes in our world is there's not enough psychologists who are Christian or Catholic. So that when a Christian or Catholic goes to one of them and brings up this topics like this, they kind of also get dismissed into psychological, gobbledygook. That's why, the times in my life when I have needed someone of that ilk, I've looked for somebody who I've always said, I don't want to go to anybody who will look at me and say, God cannot figure in this equation. Because the minute you say that, I'm gone. Because God is in my life, it has control in my life, and I have to work around that. So other than that, I don't want to talk to you because you're right. We've gotten away from what sin really is. There is sin and then there's psychological disorder.
Right. And sometimes one can lead to the other.
Exactly.
And at times in history, people call things that were psychological disorders demonic. So, I mean, it's like we've got to come back to looking at truth, not just side.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and it's, I mean, again, this all is going back to this idea of not recognizing the work of the devil in the world today, not recognizing that spiritual realities are real. The sense of the spirit is out there. We have guardian angels who are watching over us. That angel is as real as you and I are. There are the good angels that are there with God. There are the fallen angels that are prowling the world. There is the devil. These things are real. We can't see them usually, but they are real. But we might believe in them more if we could see them.
It'd be better, I think, because then we could make some determinations. But no, I think a lot of our fiction, a lot of our movies and TV and imaginations have made such huge strides in these areas to depict them. To show them. Before, the devil used to be in a movie, a shadow on the wall or, music that would come up behind somebody. Now you've got a full-blown CGI effect, of somebody's imagination. And people tend to look at that and say, well, that's just imagination. That can't be real. Yeah, it can, but not in that form.
Well, and it's one of the concerns, speaking of how it is portrayed, is there are shows now that even want to there's one show in particular that wants to put the devil on as the good guy, or at least as like kind of an anti-hero. I haven't watched it, but there's the show Lucifer.
I haven't seen it.
It's one of those kind of, it's a fantasy police procedural drama.
Somehow a lot of that sounds like an oxymoron.
Here's like the one-liner when you do a Google search for the name of the episode, or for the episode from IMDb. Lucifer Morningstar has decided he's had enough of being the dutiful servant in hell and decides to spend some time on Earth to better understand humanity.
Oh my. Oh my.
He's the protagonist in this series. He's the good guy in this series.
I got issues with that. That's why I don't watch it. And that's the good thing about television.
As soon as I heard the idea of the show from the beginning, it's like, no, this is literally satanic. I mean, this is awful. And then there are other series like the kind of the sci-fi fantasy series Supernatural. They don't. Satan himself is not a figure, as far as I know. I haven't watched a lot of it, but there are like good angels and bad angels, and the good angels are the ones they actually actively avoid, and the bad angels are the ones that they work with. And it's just like, you've got this flipped on its head, you know? So.
And there's also a new one now on Amazon Prime. What is that? Bad Omen?
Good
Omen.
Good Omens.
Yeah. And I really like the author, and it's a funny thing, but yeah, it's this tendency to make the devil friendly that is an issue.
And this one's a little different, but I agree with what you're saying. There are some problematics there. The fallen angel is trying to prevent Armageddon.
Okay.
Trying to work with a good angel to prevent Armageddon. Now, admittedly, disclosure, I haven't watched it yet, but I do want to watch it because David Tennant is being David Tennant in it.
Yes, I know. And
Doctor Who fans know what that means.
Doctor Who.
Yeah. And Neil Gaiman is one of the
things. Yeah.
Was it Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman were the two authors of it? And yeah, it's for what I've seen though, I mean, it doesn't dramatize, it doesn't make the demonic look good. In fact, it's like the opposite, but it does it in a very, very, very British comedy way, shall we say?
Right.
So, no,
and humor's been used in the past with the Screw Tape Letters and C.S. Lewis and different things like that. Sometimes it helps people to see it if they're seeing it in a different context. But,
absolutely.
Yeah. So the humor itself is not the issue. It's a matter of, is it leading you to believe that is good?
Right. And that's actually a good point. Is, we need to learn about the devil's tricks, and Screw Tape Letters is a great one for that. If you can't read that one and see yourself in the person being tempted, the patient or the subject, I can't remember exactly how they phrase it, but the target of the tempter's work, you got problems. Because this guy is, everything's thrown at him, and you read it and you see your own actions and go, oh, that's not good. Yeah. C.S. Lewis was absolutely brilliant with the Screw Tape Letters, because it really does, in quite humorous ways, kind of make us open our eyes and look at the work again of the devil in our world. Look again at what he wants to do. That's a good one to read. Another good source for kind of understanding a lot of this is the Divine Comedy, Dante's Divine Comedy. The 9 layers of hell and everything like that. It's, you read that and you think he was very creative in his punishments for the different sins, but you realize though, we put ourselves there by our actions, whether it is through sin in general or by following the devil. We put ourselves there.
Right. It was our choice.
Yep. So is there anything else either you want to talk about on the...
I could talk for days on this, but yeah. I think it's just a matter of folks recognizing that there is evil in the world and there is someone who ratchets that up.
Yeah.
You know, so if you understand that there is someone behind that, then I think,
Absolutely.
you know, then I think people might get a better idea of what they're dealing with. It's just not something, it's not something nebulous.
Right.
You know.
Well, and also thinking about some of the games and some of the things like that people take as humor or take as lightly as Ouija boards and things like that, and tarot cards and stuff like that. It's like they don't realize that they're letting themselves open.
Right. Absolutely. Now,
and maybe we need to do an emphasis on angels, you know, what an angel really is, because, you know, we can talk about the devil, but we also need to talk about the light and the help that we do have, and that angels are real, as opposed to the cute cherubs and the New Age angels that are somehow not spiritual, or they're not religious. But yeah,
that'd be a good topic for a future episode, definitely. One thing I do want to make sure to mention is, if you want to ensure the devil can't get a hold of you, stay close to the sacraments. Confession and the Eucharist are the easiest way. The devil cannot be present in the presence of the Eucharist. Just can't, because it's Jesus himself. He can't be there. And when we go to, and I've heard this from exorcists and from others, where if you're in the middle of an exorcism, like say a priest is in the middle of an exorcism, the devil can throw that demon, or the devil can throw the sins of the priest back in his face. You did. But only if the priest hasn't confessed it.
I hadn't heard that.
Once the priest has confessed those sins,
they're not
gone.
Available to him anymore.
Yep.
Wow.
So that's the confession is very powerful against the devil, because again, we're receiving God's mercy directly, receiving the forgiveness and mercy of our Lord directly. He can't handle that. So yeah, if you're worried about the devil, stay close to the sacraments. He can't touch you there. So anyways, enough of talking about Satan. That's I think we've gotten enough details about the devil. So just take a quick moment to once again thank everyone for listening to Let's Talk. We hope you enjoy our podcast. We hope you enjoy all our topics, whether it's something like this or something more lighthearted like we've done in the past. We definitely appreciate everyone who's willing to contact us to give us feedback and let us know what you think. Give us thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. Give a like, comment there. Anything you can think of, any way you can get a hold of us. Of course, we'll have a little bit of feedback here in a couple of minutes before we go on to our picks of the week, but we definitely want to hear from you, and we definitely would hope you enjoy our shows enough to share them with your friends. Give them links to our episodes. Let them check them out and see what they think, and maybe they'll join as well. Of course, we do have those who support us through Patreon, and we are very, very grateful to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't keep SQPN on the air. In fact, right now we're in the middle of a giving campaign where we need some help here at SQPN. So right now I'm going to pause for just a minute and let Dom take over and talk about our campaign.
This is Dom Bettinelli, CEO of the StarQuest Production Network, with a special message seeking your support. StarQuest needs your help. Over the past year, we've grown by leaps and bounds. Every month, we produce dozens of shows covering numerous topics, and all explore the intersection of faith and pop culture, which is the core of our mission. Some, like Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, are among the most popular shows StarQuest has ever produced in all its 13-year history, and our newest shows, like American Catholic History, are catching fire with new audiences. We're fulfilling our mission of evangelization in a whole new way, but that success is in danger. We must reach the financial break-even point if we're going to continue. Creating, editing, producing, distributing, and promoting a dozen shows have caused our expenses to rise, and we are no longer making ends meet. We're rapidly eating through our reserves, and soon they'll be gone, and we'll have to cut back many of our shows. We might even have to shut down altogether. That's why it's crucial we hear from you right now. If you haven't yet become a supporter, please do so now. If you are a supporter, please prayerfully consider increasing your support at this time. Please visit sqpn.com/give today and click the Become a Patron button to make your monthly pledge. Or to give a one-time gift, click the donate button. When you become a patron, you'll have access to exclusive benefits and several special thank you gifts for supporting StarQuest at different levels. The need is urgent, so please go to sqpn.com/give today. Thank you from all of us at StarQuest, and God bless you. May we hear from you today?
Well, thank you, Dom. And of course, I do want to thank our Patreon supporters, especially Michael C., Charles W., Scott H., Laurent S., and Dan F. Thank you to all of you who support us through Patreon. And thank you to those who will answer our campaign and join on our Patreon support. It really does help us keep these shows on the air, keep them coming to you, and so we can find more topics of interest to talk about. As I said, we do have some feedback today. So before we go on to our picks of the week, I think we'll talk about the feedback. Now, both these are from I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, episode 60, where we talked about the Eucharist. Les wrote, Catholics have had too much contact with non-Catholics who think God is equally present everywhere and have no need for John 6. Nor can those Protestants explain Pentecost, where God showed a special presence in the form of flames. That is, if the flames are a special presence, then so is the Eucharist. Of course, talk about the fact that a lot of people don't believe that Jesus is in the Eucharist. They don't believe in that the Eucharist is the body and blood, but it is merely a symbol. And that's true. That the Protestants really can't explain John 6 as well. They don't quite understand it. And then Brenda says, there's a need to recatechize and evangelize the adults in our parishes, especially the younger parents who do not understand the real presence. What they believe conflicts with what their children are being taught. This causes confusion in the youth. The children will believe their parents before their religious ed teachers, who they only see once a week from September to April. How do we engage these adults so they can be recatechized and evangelized? I think we could have a full topic on that one.
Oh, dear. Yes.
Speaking of someone who's taught.
Oh, yes. It's really interesting when you're teaching 7 and 8-year-olds, and you go through you hold up the host and you say, is this Jesus? And they kind of look at each other for a second and they go, if we've taught them well, they say no. And I say, why? Because it isn't at Mass. We've taught,
yep.
We teach them by saying, this is Jesus after Father holds up, we use the real words, but we know they don't remember them. But then their parents, if that isn't nurtured and their parents have doubt, then the kids are going to have doubt growing up. So by the time we get them back for confirmation, it's like, I don't believe in any of this. That percentage really bothered me. 31%. That's gone down. As I remember, maybe 20 years ago, it was 46%. I think that was the last number I had seen. And now it's 31. And that means we're not doing our job.
No.
in explaining it to them, or even in not even just explanation. It's a lot of evangelization has to come through the heart. It's not just a head thing. It's not I had a Eucharistic theology professor who said, this is not an alchemy lesson. This is really a heart. It's a faith issue. I mean, we can try to explain it, but when it boils down to it, go to John 6. Exactly. And I've had more discussions with people over John 6 than any other scriptural passage ever in my life. So I understand.
It's the heart of it.
It is. It is.
Yep, exactly.
And it even says it right in there. And many found this to be difficult to believe and walked away.
Right.
That's right.
So, and we're seeing the effects of that right now. I think it's going to be a concerted effort, but we have to understand, and I would say this as a liturgist, that liturgy is job 1A and faith formation is job 1B in a parish. Those two things should be given the most time and effort. Everything else will come from that, will blossom from that. But if we're not giving our attention to liturgy and faith formation, we may as well close up shop and go home, people.
Right. Well, and I would argue too, and I said this in the podcast, what we do at liturgy and how we do it matters so much. When you see people coming into the church and they're very lackadaisical about prayer. They don't recognize the tabernacle, if the tabernacle's even present. Mm-hmm. I've been in churches like that, things like that. So, I mean, that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day.
It is.
But, well, very good. Thank you both for your feedback, good feedback, and very true on both of them. Some stuff more to think about. So we always appreciate that very much. So now let's move on to our picks of the week. Now, Pat, why don't you go first?
Well, considering the topic, I have a friend who has an Etsy shop, and she makes Catholic geek stuff, nice. Things for Catholics. And the ones that I picked out today were it's either a poster, a T-shirt, or a cup, but it's Hail Mary, full of grace, punch the devil in the face. And this is a very, very strong medieval symbol that she had pulled from a Bible, I think. Oh, wow. And right. So it's really cool. And then to follow that is the St. Michael prayer that was done by a 4-year-old son of an Orthodox priest. And it was, let's see, trying to see if I can get all of it in here, but it basically says, "Dear St. Michael, guard my room. Don't let anything eat me or kill me. There's something about kill it with your sword. Kill it with your sword." And he, says this a couple of times. Amen. So it's a child's view of St. Michael, but it doesn't hurt to remind us.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then that comes in a pillow. And actually, one of my grandchildren has that pillow, I believe.
Nice.
And then the last one on that particular list of topics was the Dante Inferno coffee cup, which shows a picture of Virgil leading Dante to the beatific vision. And so that kind of rounds it out.
Oh, very good.
Very good. Nice.
Oh, and yes, her shop is door number 9 on Etsy, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yep.
But that's just a few of the geeky things that she has. And she's got medals, and she's got T-shirts, and she's got liturgical runners, like to build your own small altar at home. She's got some amazing things. So I do recommend her.
Well, very good. Very good. Yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out, and send a few bucks her way. Be a good thing. Joanne, do you have one for us?
Oh, and to quote Monty Python, and now for something completely different, I decided because of our topic, I would go on the opposite end and do something totally frivolous. The Downton Abbey movie is coming out. Those of you who are Downton Abbey fans, such as myself, we're looking forward to September 20th, which is the opening day for the movie. However, if you're a super fan and can find it on the internet, you might be able to go to a showing on September 12th, which I know it's a Thursday night. And I unfortunately can't go, but we're making plans to go for the weekend, because both my husband and I was the Downton Abbey fan first, and he started watching it and said, "What the heck is that?" And then because of Julian Fellowes' wonderful characters, he got sucked into it.
That's funny.
So much to the point that yesterday, if you're in the Boston area up until the middle end of September, they have the Downton Abbey exhibit, which is at the Castle at Park Plaza. And we went yesterday, and it's incredible to see the costuming, and they have a replica of the kitchen and of Mr. Carson's, butler's pantry, and it's amazing. It's very also technologically crazy. They have at least they have a room that has three-sided screens, and they keep projecting different things from the series, different clips, and they move from the house, one part of the house to another part of the house, to the war, to it's crazy. It's crazy good. So if you're a Downton Abbey fan and you're in the Boston area, it's here through the end of September. It goes to North Carolina for Christmas. I know that much, but the movie comes out September 20th. Run, don't walk. Get your ticket early, and I think we're going to be in for a treat, because the storytelling of Julian Fellowes is just remarkable.
That's great. That sounds like fun. I haven't gotten much into it, but it sounds like fun.
It is, and if my manly man of a husband can get into this show and not look at it as a soap opera, then I think it's some good writing.
Well, I know a lot of folks, it's just kind of one of those things that's on the list of things to do among everything else that's on the list of things to do. So,
right.
So. Well, my pick, kind of going along with our topic, is actually Dante's Divine Comedy, specifically the Inferno, but the entire Divine Comedy. Many of us have read it, and we probably read it for like an English class or something like that, literature class or something like that. And it is great literature. I mean, it truly is. It's a masterpiece that has lived this long because it is such great literature. But there is so much spiritual grounding to it. There's so much. I mean, yes, some of it is fanciful, and some of it was Dante's imagination. And there's people that are in hell because Dante wasn't happy with them, and things like that. But the basic theology and spirituality behind it is so true. Even if the world isn't quite so accurate, there's no big cavern somewhere with the mountain that poked up the other end when the devil was thrown down, but it's still that symbolisms and everything that's there. And it's ultimately, of course, a message of hope because, yes, he descends through hell, but then eventually goes through purgatory up into heaven, So if you haven't read it, please do. It is very much worth reading. And if you've read it, maybe it's time to pull it out again. Check it out. We need these reminders every once in a while. So check out the Divine Comedy. And unfortunately, although it's called a comedy, it's in the old sense of comedy, like Shakespeare's sense, which means it's not funny, it's tragic.
Right.
Exactly.
I actually had a woman who was a spiritual director that gave several weeks classes on specifically the Divine Comedy in terms of spiritual direction.
Oh, sure.
And it was really a really great class.
That would be interesting. Be very interesting. Oh, thank you both for coming on, talking about this very heavy topic, but a good topic to talk about nonetheless. Pat, where can people find you?
Well, mostly on Facebook. I am facebook.com/themamanerd, all one word, THE Mama, MAMA, nerd, NERD. I also have a website called themamanerd.com, and that has the-mama-nerd is the title. But those are the two places you'll find me.
Excellent. And Joanne?
Still on Twitter at Ritual Diva, and also on Facebook at Monday Morning Catholic. I am putting things up there right now in preparation of rebooting the podcast sometime soon. I know that's not a empty threat. At some point it will happen.
Well, sometimes it takes a while. Well, very good. And again, I'm Father Cory Sticha. You can find my homilies at frcory.org. I'm on Facebook, Father Cory Sticha, and my Twitter handle is frcorysticha. If you have any feedback about this topic or any topic of Let's Talk, you can send your feedback to letstalk@sqpn.com or can comment again on the SQPN Facebook page. We'll see them there as well. Thank you very much for listening, and God bless.